Today's a great show. Oh, turn out the audio here. We're talking Spiral. And Spiral only, baby. I had different plans, but this is how it goes. I had to go early. I went to the first possible showing in IMAX in a perfect state. And I'm an incredible Saw fan. Incredible nostalgia for that series. It's funny, for people of our generation, it is ours. It is our, Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or Halloween. And we take ownership in the fact that it's like less trashy than those things. But the Saw franchise is nonetheless trashy, especially as it went along. And this is technically Saw 8. 8. When you get to 8 movie in a franchise, some elements will age badly just because of repetition and whatnot. First and foremost, no spoilers. The most important thing and the most obvious thing is that this is Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. That's what I told to the guy when I went at the first showing. The movie was like broken. Like it was just a black screen. The lights were on, completely quiet in the IMAX theater. A few people, people like me that wanted to see the first possible showing, and it was awkward. Man, you have never felt the awkwardness of being in a room. That was a torture room of itself. But yeah, I was shooting the breeze with the worker that was just waiting for it to get fixed. And I was telling him, I'm like, Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock. Like, that's can't miss. Just on those two names alone. And then you add on to the fact that Saw has never had legitimate actors. Ever. The freaking Jigsaw himself, the actor who played Jigsaw in the first movie, was only used because of his voice and because he laid on the ground for every scene that was shot. They just got incredibly lucky with him being an incredible actor and presence to the point where he's a horror icon, right? So following the horror icon that is the actor Tobin Bell, right? Extremely difficult. And the pedigree of the story, which is all about twists and turns. But you add on top of that the main actors, big actors, and Chris Rock especially, because this is his idea. Without him, this movie would not exist. I'm getting some Spotify ads. I did not know this happened, but that's how it goes. First time using this playlist. And so the craziest thing is, it was his idea, right? So the movie kind of lives or dies by the story because it is his story. The problem is he did not direct it. I wish he had the balls to follow through and go all the way, and it took a big chance, right? But I think it would have been more rewarding in the end because it was the director of Saw 2, 3, and 4. So it is, again, it comes back to the repetitive elements, right? But not to take that away, again, like I said, because of those two actors, even without the Saw, even if you haven't seen any Saw before this, you can go see this one alone, thanks to those two actors, and the fact that the story is actually surprisingly great. So yeah, that's the absolute non-spoilers, okay? So now I'm going to go into slight spoilers here, because, just to talk about the premise, and I'll go max spoilers later on, because I think nobody wants to talk spoilers on this film, because the movie shines on its reveals, right? And that has been the case for every Saw film. Some people go for the gore, but I think that's a lie. Most people stick around and actually care because of the twists and turns in the story. And even as convoluted and as ridiculous as it gets, we're still invested. It's part of us. So the whole time, the big difference between this movie and why it's not called Saw, by the way, there's a big reason why it's called Spiral, is because in itself, it is a detective story. Usually the Saw films were 60% traps and torture, pretty much, like following a character trying to go through multiple smaller games within one big game. That was 60% of the Saw films, and 40% was made for the cops trying to solve the case, either find Jigsaw or find where it is or whatever. That was 40%. This movie, opposites. You switch that around. So it's 60% cops investigations, 40% games and traps. And I for one because it would fail if the mystery wasn't good. So there's multiple mysteries, right? There's the mystery that is playing on screen, but there's also the mystery of a longtime Saw enthusiast that is, guessing who is who, etc., etc. And I believe they do deliver on all fronts, right? So if you're a Saw fan, go see it. That's pretty much it for these slight spoilers. To continue talking about this film, I have to go into spoilers. And like I said, shut it off if you have not seen it, because I recommend it for non-Saw fans and for Saw fans equally. Like they both will get something out of it, and you will see my rating at the end of the show. But yeah, I do not want to spoil the rating either. So full spoilers, okay? The reveals, right? First of all, the traps. The traps are synonymous with the franchise. Extremely important part. The people like us, like me, that don't like the gore, you know what I mean? We don't go in for that. But it's still a cool part, especially the game aspect, right? The rules of the traps are what makes it interesting. Some people do actually like the gore. And, I'm not complaining. Hell yeah. But, and in this movie, the traps, again, top tier. Top tier in both the gore aspect and the rules and the meaning behind the traps are also very, very good. So again, as you can see, now that we're going into max spoilers, in my opinion, it does live up to the title. That is, Spiral is the best Saw film ever made because of the actors that are top tier, right? We never had top tier actors like this. They lucked out on Tobin Bell. They only lucked out. Name me another character that was like truly blown you away with their acting. There isn't much, and even then you're pushing it. Not really. I mean, sure, you can have your favorites. And of course the traps. If the traps sucked, and the story wasn't good, the movie would fail. Same thing. I believe those, especially the overarching narrative we'll get into, but the traps themselves and how we get to them and who are in the traps. I love it. The timing is perfect, and when you think about it, this movie got pushed back, right? So imagine if it were to release when it was supposed to release, which I believe was a year ago, or Halloween. So, and that would have been even better. But still, a good story will remain timeless. And finally, the max reveal, right? So Jigsaw, Jigsaw has been dead since the beginning. So we're full max spoilers here, okay? So every new movie that comes out, especially when it's been this long, so either Jigsaw the movie that came out in like 5 years ago, or this case Spiral, we the audience are like the whole time, who is the new Jigsaw? Like, right? And if you're gonna put Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson on the poster, it gives way to assumptions, right? And thankfully, the twist actually worked on me. It got me. And it literally actually worked as a twist in the literal way of the word. And like every Saw film, it has that classic song, right? Hello, Zep. And then you put it on. It has that song, and that ending is... I cannot describe to you the feelings it got out of me. The only word I've had in the few years that I've been doing this, not in the few years, in the decade I've been doing this, is euphoria. But I do not believe that's the right word. But anyway, it's like that's when you're truly taken for a ride and you're truly invested in the story, and you're anyway. It's kind of like, it's stupid, but it's kind of like your soul takes over. And like I said in IMAX in a perfect state in the first showing, and I was as hype as can be. I was screaming at the guy working there, Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, can't miss it. You know what I mean? I was being abrasive. You know what I mean? So, in terms of if it was going to get anybody, if this movie was going to actually impact anybody's soul, it was mine. And they did in a big, big way. And that cannot be understated, right? No other Saw movie or any, like, that happens twice a year, right? Maybe 2-3 times a year. And usually it's animated films or a season finale. It's usually a culmination of something huge, right? And in a way, it kind of is. And I'm happy that this movie exists. I'm happy that Chris Rock forced it to happen. He did a good performance. Same thing with Samuel L. Jackson, but he's not there for long. There's a reason he has a big "and" before his name on the posters. When it's like Chris Rock, and then a big "and" Samuel L. Jackson. He was there for like 2 days or something. But and yeah, everything was satisfying. Now I probably won't see it again because it was brutal in its own way. But as a whole, it's as good as it gets for a Saw movie, which again is better than the trash from the 80s, right? Even as a franchise that has had as many sequels as those films. But, like I said, is still trash nonetheless, unfortunately. That's the unfortunate aspects of the film where sometimes, there's no finesse. There's like a lack of respect, and that's where I said I wish Chris Rock would have actually directed the film. He directed the movie Fast Five, which is kind of a cheat because it's literally him just chilling with his homies and chilling with the places he grew up with. It's more of a, a day in the life of Chris Rock. It's less of a movie than an actual just chilling with Chris Rock for 2 hours. But still, he could have challenged himself, and I think he would have had more care put into the film to not make it feel this. It still feels grimy, man. You know what I mean? It's like the grime that we love, but it's the grime that holds it back from being like a true horror masterpiece. You know, something that actually it actually does say something, but something that actually moves the needle in a genre that is so, sequel driven and whatnot. It's not helping itself. Anyway, so that's the only thing holding him back. Everything else, top tier, which means, I'm serious about this, in my opinion, this is a 9 out of 10, okay? If we're judging this as a film, which is not how I judge the 10 scale, very important. I judge the 10 scale on itself. Whatever I watch, are you the best version of what you can be? Whatever it is. If I'm watching an animated film, The Mitchells versus the Machines, no property, no premise. It's a whole original film. So are you as good as you want to be watching it, right? Does it elicit all the emotions that you wanted to when you were writing the script, directing the film, editing the film? If you have, that's a 10. That means you did. You did everything you wanted to achieve, and sometimes more. So that's why it's a 9. Like it is the best Saw film. It is still a Saw film, which holds it back. But the score is that high because it is like the best Saw film. If it were compared to Oscar winners or whatever, normal film, it would be an 8, right? But we compare it on the scale of Saw, of trashy horror films. And as far as trashy horror films go, it doesn't get much better. So yeah, that's Spiral. Highly recommend it. I think I don't want to go into the actual last spoiler just in case some people watch this because they truly didn't care about it. But yeah, I said what I had to say. And yeah, I really think, even without explicitly telling and talking about every set piece and character reveal, we got the gist. That's pretty much it. I forgot to tell you that the main event was going to be Zack Snyder describing his favorite scene, and this blew me away. Because what are you talking about, Zack? Anyway, I'll show you in 2 seconds. But first, I got to preview the rest of Horror Week. Like I said before, this is the last 2 weeks of May 2021 are the horror 2 weeks of 2021. There hasn't been a good horror movie the entire year to this point. And now they're all coming out within 2 weeks. It's crazy. So Spiral was the first. We're starting with that, and every day we'll check out another one. There's not enough to fill out a full week till next Friday, because that's the big day. But The Djinn, which is underground, baby. This is the one that came out that nobody's talking about, that has extremely good reviews, and I myself do not know nothing about, which is, by the way, no trailers. I went to go see Spiral without knowing anything about the premise or anything, so that really helped. Oxygen, which is a French, that just came out literally 3 days ago, French sci-fi horror flick in space. Like, she's stuck literally in a box. It's like a sci-fi box. Should be fun. Saint Mode came out this January, but I missed it. And this might be the only great horror film that came out this year to this point. So because I missed it, catching up, why not? Throw it in the pile. Of course, next Friday, the main event, A Quiet Place Part 2 in theaters, Army of the Dead on Netflix on the same day. I will prioritize A Quiet Place because this Zack Snyder breaks down his career video from Vanity Fair. A lot of people do this, actors, whatever. And I find it interesting, especially when it's a director, because then you get to learn insights behind the films that we love. And Zack Snyder, I don't know, films that we love might be going a little far. By the way, I forgot to have chat on. Damn it, my bad. But, and because of this video, at the end he talks about Army of the Dead and the purpose of it. And I was telling you before that I was so excited for it because he's been doing Justice League and, Batman, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, big films with like millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of budget. So for him to do Army of the Dead has to be an incredible idea. Unfortunately, he literally says the opposite in this video, and he says he wrote this film in 2004 after he did Dawn of the Dead. 2004. That is almost 20 years ago. It's insane. It's like, what, 16 years ago? I'm not going to do math here. Point is, if that script is that old, there's going to be some rough elements in this film. And the way he says why he did it was that the studio came to him with the idea. It's like, oh, why not do Army of the Dead? He's like, oh, sure, why not? That would be fun. He's not passionate about this thing. It's just like another project for him to do. And that let me down big time. So yeah, that lowered my expectations. That's not to say that it's going to be a bad film. He has extremely good expertise, and I cannot wait to see that on a smaller budget. But let's just lower our expectations for Army of the Dead. Sorry about that. But yeah, Quiet Place Part 2, big time high stakes. Of course, John Krasinski's sequel, and he said the opposite. It's the opposite. There had to be passion. After A Quiet Place Part 1, and it came out and it made so much money, everybody's like, sequel. John was like, no, we're not doing a sequel unless we get an amazing idea, which is what I hope Zach would have done. And I guess he came up with a good idea. It's him and his wife, so I'm sure it came up. So yeah, he directed the sequel. It's all on him. In the same way I hope Chris Rock would have directed Spiral. In the same way I hope Zack Snyder would have cared about Army of the Dead more than he does. John Krasinski and his wife seem to be all in on this film, which means they will live and die by it. And that means that their legacy is on the line. It doesn't get more high stakes than that, so I'm super excited. And trust me, I'm not going to shit all over it if it's bad. Like, it's not that high stakes. But yeah, sorry about the whole ordeal. That's Horror Week. It's coming up. And we'll sneak in a few other things in there. Castlevania Season 4 just came out, and I was waiting for it to be great. And yet people are saying it's great, so I got to catch up. I got to catch up Season 3, Season 4. But I will do that soon, because I'm in. And yeah, so that's it. And oh yeah, big time. This is the most important thing. Sorry, I forgot. This wall is coming down. Not really. This side, all of the art is coming down, and I will replace it with other movie posters like Shawshank Redemption and The Invisible Man. I will show them to you both, say goodbye to these, and tell you what they are, and show it to you full screen, and show you full screen the posters that are going to replace them. There's like 6 of them, all very diverse, very unique, but that represent who I am more than these art pieces can. But still, I must thank them. So that's happening tonight. That's happening like in an hour. That will be another live stream. For now, the main event, which is kind of sad. It's a bittersweet main event because I'm like, bro, for real? Anyway, so this is Zack Snyder talking about Batman v Superman, telling us about one of his favorite shots ever. It's like one of his favorite shots he's ever done in all of his films. 300, Watchmen. Zack Snyder is known for his visuals. That's his forte. Like, that's the one thing we could never take away from him, is some of his shots are breathtaking. But here's one of his favorites. I'm like, dude, okay, here we go.
When Ben smashes Superman on the head with the sink and then picks him up and carries him, throws him over the banister, and he lands on all the radiators. For some reason, and that down shot of Henry when Ben drags him out and his cape just goes across the radiators, and I don't know, for some reason that's one of those shots that I've just always loved, and if I hadn't made it, I would have thought it was cool.
Man, he encapsulated everything that's wrong with him. He's like, it's all about looking cool. It's all about, it has to be cool. If it's not cool, it doesn't matter. And now look, let's be real here. Let's give him his due. The shot of Superman falling is cool and is a nice shot. Right here. Boom, right now.
When
and he's also describing it.
Out and his cape just goes across the radiator.
But him falling on a pile of rusty radiators is pure trash. You cannot have that idea and tell me that's a good idea. They had meetings about this shit. They're like, oh yeah, he's gonna fall, and he's gonna fall in the cement. No, he's gonna fall on a pile of rusty radiators. That's the vision. And like, I know I'm making fun here, but the dude said the word radiators. He's like, oh yeah, when the cape is on the radiators, oh, that's my masterpiece. My masterpiece. His masterpiece involves, look at this. This is sad. This is not Superman. This is Radiator Springs. Okay, doesn't get better than that. Love and respect. We say goodbye to the art in an hour. Wait, let's check on chat. I always forget. Anything to say? Check out Spiral. I do recommend it.